That's a good answer. And you're also a big Lamar lover. You're yeah.
What? Am I?
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I am. All right, what is up, guys? It is episode 70 of the Harvester Sports Podcast. We got the socks out.
We have the socks out. I'm going crisscross applesauce. Don't make fun of me for it. I'm comfy. Sorry, I got sad.
We're your hosts. I'm Noah.
I'm Austin.
And yeah,
this
is the podcast.
Yeah,
Here we
this
are.
is the podcast. I'm so happy that you guys are here to join us. Wish you could be sitting on the couch with us while we talk, but
I don't, because there's like a million people to watch this podcast. Can't fit them all on this.
Everyone watch out. They're all like, "Where's David?" I'm like, "Please, man, leave him alone." Let's get right into it. Big thing that people were talking about that we kind of touched on, I think, last week. Dalvin Cook being cut. Or not last.
I don't think we did. But
okay.
Maybe we did.
Maybe we did. I can't remember.
We didn't, but I don't think we did.
Well, we couldn't, but maybe we did. Think about it.
It's a riddle.
In the grand scheme, time is not linear.
Ultimately, we either did or we didn't, so it's a 50-50 chance. But
it's our canon event that we probably didn't talk about it. Dalvin Cook got cut.
Which is crazy.
Which is very crazy.
That tells you a lot about the NFL. Where you can have a guy that 4 years in a row, right?
4 years in a row,
had 1,000-yard seasons. Mm-hmm. One of the best running backs in the league when he's healthy. And he's been healthy. Like, he had a full healthy season last year, right?
Yeah. Dalvin was always the guy. It's like if he can stay healthy, but
that's true of any running back, I think.
It's a hard position, man. It's a hard position to stay healthy in.
Yeah, and then, people say, like, oh, elite running back if he stays healthy. That describes Derrick Henry. That describes Saquon. That describes Dalvin Cook. That describes CMC.
Not everyone can have the longevity of Frank Gore. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, it's zero compensation. Didn't trade him. Cut him.
Nothing. It's the same thing like with
D-Hop.
With D-Hop. We talked about
that's sort of two or 3 weeks in a row, or 2 weeks in a row, where we saw an elite level player
just eat it,
get cut for nothing. Not traded for anything. Just cut straight up.
Dude, just gone. And like, of course, we probably, we're not in the building, so like they probably tried to shop him. It didn't even feel like they tried to shop him with D-Hop. Is that they just ate that cap? They're like, he's out. Not even before the cut date where they would have saved some money. They just got rid of him. But with Dalvin, I really thought they were going to be able to find a partner. Did not happen. Dalvin is now a free agent, and everyone's left wondering now, where's he going to go? And a wild thing, before we get into where he was going to go, a wild thing that I see a lot of people saying and a lot of analysts saying, like ESPN, the network and stuff, it's hard to see it like these dudes. Is that recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
I saw the double take and I got stressed. It's so weird to me because, like, we're talking about Dalvin's a great running back, but like when I see in the network and ESPN stuff, everyone's like, yeah, he can go to this team and be the running back too. I'm like, that's so wild too. We're talking about this man being RB2. I love Dalvin. And people are like, yeah, he can go back up like Joe Mixon if Joe Mixon stays. He can go back up like he can go be the RB2 for the Browns. I'm like, that's wild, man. I still see him as like that dude.
No, I think he's an RB1. I think he's a top half of the league for sure.
I think so too.
But running back is one of those positions where turnover is crazy in terms of like who the best guys in the league are. It feels that way more to me with running backs. I think running backs, there's more turnover in terms of who the most elite guys are in the league at any given point. Yeah. Or like who the even starting running backs are in the league. That feels to me like that is changing more than receivers, I think. Even though, I think so. I don't know. You have rookie receivers that do well.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a guy with the talent of like a D-Hop or Devontae Adams, know he's going to be like a guy in the league for minimum 10 years.
Yeah.
But there's running backs where they can be really, really good and still they might only be relevant in the league for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like you see that a lot.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy, dude. And like we talk about it a lot, we're big on the whole it's so wild how running backs really aren't. Like, people should respect running backs. It's like we talk about all the time, but it's still wild how running backs are just moved on from so fast and not given the money. It's so wild to me.
Yeah, do you want to talk about potential landing spots for Dalvin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Some of the ones that people are throwing out there are
some are weird.
Really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Or like some of them kind of weird.
I think
because the thing is, it depends on how much Dalvin's getting paid. I have a feeling it's going to be a number where I'm like, wow, good deal for the team.
Yeah.
He might not get paid that much as he's like.
I mean, that's how I feel based off the teams people are saying he's going to go to. I mean, if he doesn't right, that's wild.
Exactly, because they're talking about like one of the teams they're talking about. Like a lot of the teams they're talking about also have good running backs. Like one of the top teams I've seen talked about is the Jets. Yeah. The Jets have Breece Hall, which I get that Breece Hall's on a rookie deal, so you're not spending that much money there. But still, to be paying somebody like Dalvin, to come in when you have Breece Hall, who ended up coming off an injury, but he is really good.
I like Breece Hall a lot,
and so yeah, I wonder how much they would like be paying Dalvin, because if you're bringing him in to be like, if he goes into that system, they're splitting carries. It's not like it's not like a Derrick Henry situation or
no, like
it's
for sure like 1A 1B. Like they're gonna split most of the carries.
Yeah.
I think that's the team we see people saying a lot, the Jets. Another team I see people saying a lot, the Dolphins, which we wild to see also, because that offense is, like we've talked about, if you're Tua, gotta be a little nervous because they're like, you got everything now. It's all,
Yeah, day by day, Tua is having, and I like Tua. I think he's really good, but day by day, he is having less and less excuses for this upcoming season if he doesn't perform well. Granted, he does have the biggest excuse of like the dude might have brain damage.
Yeah, the dude might have serious problems. Yeah,
which is a very valid excuse for not playing to the top of your game. Mm-hmm. But when you're continuing to add offensive weapons, where you have like if they do add Dalvin Cook, then that offense is just like unreal. Yeah, and with a really great coach and a player's coach that works really well with Tua, and a good defense as well.
Yeah, you'd have an insane wide receiver core, a great tight end core, an amazing running back, and a great defense, and a sane, smart coach. Like Tua is going to be in the is going to be an amazing spot, and Dalvin, even though he would be going to a competitive AFC, would have a good chance to make it into the playoffs with where he's going.
I think that another team I've seen thrown around a lot about Dalvin is the Cowboys. Yeah. Which makes sense to me to some degree, but also not. The part that is weird to me about that is in light of moving on from Ezekiel Elliott, where it's like, okay, you're gonna cut Ezekiel Elliott, but then bring in Dalvin to pair with Tony Pollard instead. It just feels like a sort of a weird move, because they're probably in a similar pay bracket. Yeah. And even though Dalvin is better than Zeke, I would say at this current time,
I would say so.
He's like stylistically to pair with Tony Pollard, it almost makes more sense in my opinion to pair him with someone like Zeke, who can be like like third down goal line guy, rather than somebody who's Dalvin, who's like a every down guy.
Yeah, for sure. I was now like kind of like we said with the teams, looking at the teams, like it's rumored that he's going. It's like, wow, is he not getting that much? And also, is this an insight with how the league feels about Dalvin? Like, are we like too high on Dalvin with how the league feels like about him? And also, I think you're totally right about the Zeke situation, because from my perspective, when the Cowboys moved on from Zeke, it wasn't more of like, they were done with Zeke, but I feel to me like it was more of a Tony Pollard is our guy. Like, we're not as like getting rid of just this that. It was like, no, we're just gonna be Tony Pollard is gonna be our dude.
I think it was less about,
so bringing in Dalvin, like you said, would be kind of weird for me,
right? Because I felt like Tony Pollard it felt like that was the way things were trending when they first got him. They clearly really liked him. That being said, I think that Tony Pollard works well in a system with a guy like Zeke, where they're splitting carries. But yeah, it is interesting to think about them moving on from Zeke and then bringing in Dalvin. Feels like a sort of odd thing to me, but also they could definitely benefit from adding Dalvin, like most teams. So.
Yeah, and that's not even a scenario where like Tony Pollard would be splitting half the reps. That would just be Tony Pollard getting to relax a little bit, like just getting some load taken off. It wouldn't be like 1A 1B. It would kind of just be like Tony Pollard can come off the field sometimes, which I feel like would be good for him.
You think so?
I think so. I'm saying without Dalvin there. I'm saying like with with another, like it'd be good to bring another guy in so he could get like that time.
Oh, I thought you were saying that if they bring in Dalvin.
Because I'm saying Dalvin would be like they have to go 1A, 1B.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you were saying that they bring in Dalvin and Dalvin's like we'll let him have a couple snaps.
No.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know about that.
Dalvin's like the third down back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they bring in Dalvin, he's probably
playing
RB1.
a lot. Yeah, but like to me, it's gonna be a situation where totally polar is just they're gonna get a guy where he can like breathe a little bit. And that's why they moved on from Zeke, and then bringing Dalvin in, you wouldn't get that. It'd be like Dalvin's the guy again. Tony Pollard has to take that 2 spot again, which I don't know. Wouldn't be in my eyes wouldn't be the best scenario for the Dallas Cowboys as a whole. Wouldn't be smart for them. Another team I see, like I've talked about, people are saying he can go to the Broncos, which would be interesting, going to a heavy AFC West. But I don't know. It could be a good scheme for him. The Broncos always have favored their running backs with a system with a scheme like Dalvin, so it could be exciting. I don't know. I see them. I see the AFC team. I see the Browns, which that one makes a little sense just because the coach that was there when Dalvin was there is now the Browns head coach, which, I mean, that could be a good draw and a good reason for Dalvin to head over there. But then again, he would be splitting carries still. Like, he'd still be splitting carries in Cleveland.
It's just weird because I look around the league and even though it feels like we're in an era of the NFL where the focal point isn't as much on the running backs as it maybe once was, and there's not like as many running backs that we think of as like elite guys. I still look at a lot of these teams and think like they have really like a lot of them have really solid running backs in place or that they're bringing up. Like Javonte Williams on the Broncos, like they're talking about the Broncos as a potential landing spot. Javonte Williams is really good.
Yeah, dude, it's weird for me because I like these spots where there's like this here. I'm like,
and like the Browns, the Browns have Nick Chubb.
Yeah, exactly.
Although maybe they won't. But like people talk about Nick Chubb might not be around there much longer. Who knows?
But like Nick Chubb just got out of the whole like Nick Chubb Kareem Hunt situation where he had to split it. Like you could throw him again. Like let the man cook. Like it's so weird. Was he landing spots where like I like the running back there,
or you let Nick Chubb go and then you sign Dalvin Cook, but then it's like, what kind of move is that?
Yeah,
like Dalvin Cook's not better than
that's
Nick
a
Chubb.
Lateral move or maybe even a back step to me. Like I really like I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean Nick Chubb's like top for sure.
I like Nick Chubb a lot. The same thing with people saying send Dalvin to the Bengals if they get rid of Joe Mixon. I'm like, that feels like the same thing also. I really like Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the way the league is that there's guys rotating in and out of all these running back spots where it's like they're not a lot of the times they're not getting significantly better or worse. They're kind of just swapping guys out.
Yeah, anything for a few bucks cheaper, I guess. But it's still wild to me because, like we've been saying, a lot of these spots where they have Dalvin going, I'm like, I kind of like the back there. Like, I feel like just you're good. You don't really need him. There'll be a team that will pay Dalvin a good amount of money and he'll go.
I don't know if there will be, though. He might be going. The thing, because it's like, yeah, there's teams that have a solid running back, but also if you can just toss like a couple million a year to have Dalvin, then I think you do.
Maybe he'll just take a smaller offer from a team that's going to, has the potential to take him to the chip.
No, I'm saying I don't know if he's going to have the option to go to a higher period. I think the market is not going to be that kind to him.
Yeah,
and that's not an indictment on Dalvin Cook. That's just an indictment on where the league is at.
Yeah, where the league is at. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with him becoming a free agent at this point in the offseason and just the way everything looks around the league. I don't think it's going to come down to like, I could take less money and have maybe a smaller role or go to the playoffs, or take a lot of money and maybe not be on as good a team. I think he might only have offers for like a couple million.
I mean, I believe it. You want to move on to the next topic? Or you got something else to say? You good? Let's keep it rolling. The next thing I wanted to talk about, a lot of talk around it, always the Chiefs are going to be the head of the AFC until Pat and Kelsey are gone. Who do you think in the AFC, we talk about being like the most competitive conference, who do you think is their biggest competitor in the AFC? We talk about
basically who the second best team in the AFC is.
Yeah, who the second best team in the AFC is. Who can give a run for their money? Because there's so many candidates now. There's so many. You could make a case for Dolphins, Bills. You can make a case for a lot of these guys. Browns.
I mean, I feel like the right
Bengals.
I feel like the right answer is probably the Bengals, but I don't know. I'm not as big on the Bengals as some people, and I don't really like have a great reason for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just feel like I'm just not.
Just
I don't know.
Heart.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's got to be, and it's hard coming off of the Bills not really doing. Bills underperformed in the towards the end of last season, and obviously didn't go as far as they would have hoped to go. But yeah, depending on how this next year shapes up, I'd say, I guess it's got to be the Bengals. But I just feel like the Bengals are a lot worse than the Chiefs.
I think
like
so
to treat it as though like it's like Chiefs then Bengals just doesn't feel very accurate.
You feel like there's a bigger gap than that.
I feel like there's a gap, and then like after, I feel like it's Chiefs, relatively decent gap, and then there's a lot of teams where you could make a case, and that's like off-season football talk. I think you can make a case. Once we're a few weeks in, I think it'll be very clear who the second best.
Yeah, it'll be very
is.
evident. Yeah.
Just based on whether that's like if the Dolphins do come together, but they're also gonna have to win a lot of games before people are willing to say something as big as they're the second best team in the AFC or something like that. But yeah, I think you could. It's realistic to think it could be the Bills, could be the Bengals, could be the Dolphins, maybe. Those are the teams that come to mind, but probably forgetting some.
Yeah, I mean, do you like what about a team in their own division? Think the Chargers have any chance to be up there? I don't think so. But I know a lot of people are high on the Chargers, but I just don't think they'll be able to.
Also, have you seen the stat that's getting pushed around Twitter, pushed around anti-Charger Twitter lately? Of here's all the quarterbacks that the Chargers beat last year.
Oh, is it like all low tier quarterbacks?
Derek's by far the best quarterback that the Chargers beat last year, and they split game.
Yeah, I think they did.
Last year, the Chargers made the playoffs after going 10-7, and I've been on heavily biased as someone who's grown up a Raiders fan, but I just don't. No hate against Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's not true. This is probably definitely classified as Justin Herbert hate.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I just don't understand why people are throwing him up there as like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like that to me is crazy. And it's not like that I'm saying he won't ever be there or he's not insanely talented. I just don't feel like he's proven. Like, what has he proven?
Mm-hmm.
Like and that's not to say that he won't. It's just like looking at his literal resume, I don't see enough where people are putting him ahead of Josh Allen in some circumstances. Yeah. That to me feels really weird, where it totally is just like a recency bias thing. Even though recently he hasn't done better than Josh Allen. It's just that people like are on this weird like Josh Allen hate train right now, which doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, Chargers last year, they blew their 27-0 lead in the playoffs after going 10-7. 10-7. These are the quarterbacks that the Chargers beat last year.
Let me hear it.
Davis Mills, Marcus Mariota, Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield, Nick Foles, Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, Kyler Murray, Derek, and Tua. So you've got Tua was good last year. Derek, probably best quarterback on that list. And then after that, quarterbacks that are bottom half of the league. Yeah. And some of those very bottom half of the league.
Yeah, some of those are deep.
So it's just, I mean,
we're not hating.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just throwing out this stat, and you guys can draw your own conclusions about what you want to draw about it. But I'm just saying that they went 10-7, and the quarterbacks that they beat, the teams they beat, not exactly like fantastic teams.
You guys just you can't shoot the messenger. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's giving you a great stat. Yeah, you blew probably one of almost one of the coolest comebacks in postseason history. And then a season ago, you had your quarterback begging for a tie on the sideline. It's not looking good for your quarterback that you guys claim is the Messiah.
Yeah, the Chargers hype as a team, and once again, I'm definitely biased, but I just don't get the Chargers hype, I don't think. And, they have good players, like Khalil's great. Derwin James, great.
Yeah.
Like adding, they added some good players to that secondary, and they have a lot of talent.
Bosa's good. We like Bosa.
Yeah, Bosa's good. Keenan, the longer, I could probably keep listing off a lot of good players, and so there actually are some good players on the team. But I just don't see them as like a legitimate competitor. I don't see them as a legitimate competitor in the AFC. Not that they won't. Not that I'm saying like they won't make the playoffs or anything. But clip it. Don't think they're going to the AFC Championship or anything like that.
Clip it. It's okay, Chargers. It's okay to be the third best football or fan favorite football team in LA when there's only 2 of them. Okay, because it probably goes Raiders, Rams, then you guys, and the Raiders aren't even there anymore.
Potentially Cowboys before.
Potentially even Cowboys, and I would even slip a Steelers in there. But it's okay, Chargers. It's okay to be bad sometimes, dude. You're all right. Y'all figure it out.
What were we talking about before this? Before we jumped on the Herbo hate train?
Yeah, it's good.
I love Justin Herbert.
I love these guys. We're talking about Dalvin, but if you're ready to move on. Got some more stuff.
Nah, there was something else we were talking about. Oh, it was the best AFC team. What? Tiananmen Square, look it up, China. The
biggest challenger to the Chiefs in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think you're correct. I think
it's hard to say during the off season because things don't play out like they should on paper, but as of right now, but also there's some guys like D-Hop.
Yeah.
There's guys like D-Hop that out there exist.
There's dudes like Dalvin and D-Hop out there waiting to join a roster right now.
Todd Gurley could join a team. You don't know.
Think about it. Where did he go? Man was really good and then had some arthritis and he's gone. Think about that. I know y'all remember watching one of the most boring Super Bowls ever, Patriots-Rams. Couldn't be more. Thought the punter was going to get MVP for a second, but I digress. Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think from now in the offseason, I would say I think the Bengals are the biggest competitor, even though it's kind of boring to say. Maybe I could see the Dolphins, especially if they had Dalvin. Dolphins could be deadly. And Tyreek. Weird stuff for Tyreek in the news right now, but Tyreek trying to even bring D-Hop.
Weird stuff is a great way to put it.
Yeah, bad stuff, sorry.
The Bengals, there's just something about the Bengals that I just haven't ever really been that big on them.
But I love I love Jamar. I love Joe Shiesty. Love him.
Cool, man.
Sorry, man. Well, scared.
Well, yeah, but that's why they're a team that I feels like there's a lot of players in there with a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Like I think also Joe Mixon and T. Higgins are also great. And there are players on that team with a lot of talent, but I just don't think of them as like fundamentally to their core a team that's built for consistently going deep in the playoffs. Which, I mean, they have gone deep in the playoffs, so I don't know, but
yeah, I take what you're saying. I think
they just don't feel like when you look at the Chiefs, especially under with Pat Mahomes at QB and Andy Reid as head coach, they feel like fundamentally to their core, they're just a good football team.
Yeah.
And I just don't get that same vibe from the Bengals. And that's why I don't have a great stats to back that up because I'm using terms like vibe and they don't have as good a vibe as the Chiefs. But to me, the Chiefs just feel like they're the gap between them and the Bengals feels really large to me.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think the Bengals right now, again, it'll be easier to see it once the season actually starts rolling around and we're deep in week 2 or 3 or 4, or pretty early in the season. I think we'll be able to tell. But for right now, I'll choose the Bengals with you. And
and don't let anybody, when you go to In-N-Out and order a Flying Dutchman, don't let any of your friends make fun of you.
Don't let them make fun of you.
Say it's a macro-friendly meal that makes me happy. Just say that to them.
Now, also for those of you who are scared to go Flying Dutchman and you're still getting protein style, don't let the Flying Dutchman guys scare you either. It's okay if you like a little lettuce on there, man. It's okay to grab it.
Yeah, but the protein styles, I just don't know how you eat it.
Yeah, people do make fun of me because it's really wet and crunchy. Sorry.
Specifically the In-N-Out ones. Because some protein style burgers are easier to eat. In-N-Out, that thing's falling apart on you.
It's falling apart 100%.
It's a salad at some point.
You're getting messy. You're getting in there.
Man, there's our In-N-Out segment for you.
There's our routine In-N-Out segment for you.
I might be there tonight.
I will be there tonight. So either catch a ride or drive yourself.
If you ever want a Noah spotting, just go to either Chipotle, Flame Broiler, or In-N-Out.
I'll say this.
I might appear.
I'll say this.
Or maybe a Wingstop on a Monday or a Tuesday when they got the 70-cent boneless wings.
Potentially, I'll say this. We also had a bad experience on the way to an In-N-Out one time. Post Raider game. from a fan who hunted us
Oh,
down.
yeah.
That was the
I was
most
like,
wild
a
thing.
fan recognized Harvest for Sports. Yes.
Derek sucks. I'm like, bro, are you chasing me on the freeway?
fully us driving back from the Raiders game, fully
Looking like
on the 101, driving.
Yes, dude.
Fully speed 70 miles an hour. No, actually 65. 70 would be speeding.
No,
65.
I'm probably even going under.
Yeah, you gotta be. And driving along, Harvest for Sports. Derek sucks. Okay.
Dude, we were just and cheesing. I roll the window down. He's going like this, waving, and he goes, "Derek Carr sucks." And I go, like, I panic and give him the thank you, and then he's gone.
Noted.
My fault. It's because I guarantee it's because the picture I posted you on your birthday in the back of the truck.
The thing is,
car lead sticker on the back.
As though the vibe after going to a game where Baker Mayfield had a 98-yard game-winning drive, as though the vibe riding back from that game wasn't already bad enough.
I'll say this. I think DCA had something to do with it. Because DCA's first Raider game ever, this is a little fun fact for you. DCA's first Raider game ever that he appeared at when he went, Derek broke his leg. And then,
which also was very far into Derek's career. So
he was like
Dave
superstitious.
Didn't go for
a while,
because that was until 2016.
Yeah, no, 2 years.
And he didn't go to any games.
No, he would always stay at Derek's house and watch. He was very superstitious. And then he went, finally broke his, I'll go, and Derek breaks his leg. How he went to games after that, we got him to go is wild. But that happens. We weren't supposed to go to the Raider game in LA that night. And DCA said, you guys should go. I'll get you some tickets. He knew something was going on.
It's true.
He got the script.
On a list of people to blame for that, DCA's low on my list. I know who's at the top of my list.
Do you guys think with only a few seconds?
Coach? Sorry, what?
Do you guys think with only a few seconds left, game-winning drive on the line, you would play press man coverage, no one over the top? Watch the tape, multiple plays back to back to back. Back to back to back. I'll say that.
That was also the week where the Raiders pretty much they weren't mathematically eliminated, but that was the point where I was like, okay, this season's not I was like, we're gonna go to this game, this Thursday night game is gonna be the turnaround. It's gonna turn around the whole season, start the win streak. No.
You guys don't understand. Like, I have a good life with my dad being in the NFL, uncle being in the NFL. You don't really understand what it's like watching games, because he experiences it now all the time, watching your uncle and your dad play live. And then going on Twitter and be like, I'm going to kill your uncle. Now I'll be watching everybody go like this. I'll be like, tell Jimmy. But speaking of the Bengals, let's see what I need to say. Who is the Bengals' biggest challenge in the AFC North?
So you're automatically assuming that they are the best team in the AFC North. By saying who's their biggest team, you're implying that they are the...
I am applying that, and I think.
Well, let me think about that before I answer the. No, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair to say that they're probably the best team in the.
Especially
AFC
since
North.
We said the Chiefs, their biggest rival.
So I'm gonna say it's not the Steelers.
No. They're on the come up though, young Kings.
Yeah, I mean they're just rebuilding. They got some pieces. And
but you're getting there. You're not ready yet.
But when you don't have a losing season for 20 years.
Yeah.
Take your mumps, have a couple losing seasons, come back to us in a couple years, right?
We might have a different answer in this one. I don't know. Yeah, grab it.
Both the Ravens and the Bengals, or not the Bengals,
the Browns.
Both the Ravens and the Browns, they both feel to me like low floor, high ceiling teams, if that makes sense. And both of those are somewhat because their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, came back last year, and a lot of people thought he was going to come in and just be Pat Mahomes basically immediately, and he wasn't.
Yeah, he did all right. He did good for coming back after that long off.
Because it's if Deshaun Watson is playing like Deshaun Watson was playing before he took his hiatus from football, if you want to call it that,
where he took a mental break.
Yeah, back before that happened, if he plays like that, then I think the Browns should be probably the Bengals' biggest challenge.
That would be
but that feels like a big if to me. And I'm not really comfortable with that if, so I think I'd probably go with the Ravens, because even though the Ravens still feel like high risk, high reward to me, they feel a little more sure to me because you've got that offense is just really good with Lamar. You've got Mark Andrews. You've got OBJ. You've got
you got good pieces on that offense.
Who's that wide receiver one? Dang, is it OBJ?
Yeah, probably.
I might not be so sure about that actually. For some reason, I felt like they had other receivers.
No, but they got rid of Marquise Brown.
Well, that was a year ago.
Yeah, gone.
I might go Browns then.
Yeah.
In my head, the Ravens had more offensive pieces. I'll say this: Bengals' biggest challenge in the AFC North. If D-Hop signs with the Ravens, it's the Ravens. If he doesn't, it's the Browns. Is maybe what.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. And you're also a big Lamar lover. You're yeah.
What? Am I?
Oh man, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I am. I mean, as much as the next guy.
I was gaslighting I was projecting. I was projecting, man. That's on me.
I mean, I'm not one of the guys that's like in comment sections being like basically a running back, put him at running back.
Yeah,
but like
you're not going wide receiver one.
I don't know. I just feel like it's like Lamar's he's a high ceiling, low floor type of guy that, or at least that's how I look at him this season. That he could be like, close to MVP caliber, or he could not be. I do think I'm more high on Lamar than I am not high on him, but
I do really like your assessment, especially with if D-Hop goes to the Ravens, it'll be the Ravens instead of the Browns. I'll choose the Browns. I just think right now they have the biggest chance.
Yeah, that's Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just not because his OBJ's he's a question mark. As much as he's a great receiver, he's still he hasn't played.
I love him. I'll kiss him.
Hasn't played for over a year since the Super Bowl in 2022. So,
and we'll see.
Some question marks there.
There are, and again, I think that's why I'm gonna go Browns.
I think the Ravens got to sign Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I think they need him.
Team's gone, so he's got nothing to do now.
Exactly. Teams can't even. Yeah. But I just think, I think Deshaun is gonna play like Deshaun of old and be pretty good. I have high hopes that Deshaun, after coming back halfway or how many games through last season, getting a full off season and then being back, I think Deshaun's gonna do pretty good. I hope, is Amari even still there? I don't even know.
Who?
Amari. Is Amari
still?
Yeah, okay. Then I hope Amari does well. Even when he was a Raider, I really had high hopes for Amari. Amari has the potential, like Derek has told us, Amari has the potential to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. If he really wanted to, Amari has great potential. And Amari could be a great, amazing wide receiver in the league that he was supposed to be going into the Raiders. But yeah, I mean,
that's a good receiver. They've got, it's Amari, there's Peoples Jones and Elijah Moore.
Yeah, it's a good wide receiver core, and they have they have a good wide receiver core.
No, it's not. They have a good tight end, David Njoku.
Yeah, they have a good wide receiver core. They have a good tight end, good O-line, okay defense,
questionable character. Good.
Yeah, they have Felon. Yeah, and a great running back. Maybe they bring Dalvin in too. We'll see. But I think right now, I'll choose the Browns as the Bengals' biggest competitor in the AFC North. Again, Steelers, it's not your time yet, but soon, hopefully. If all goes well, Steelers.
You could see George Pickens get in there and mix some things up.
Exactly. Steelers, all goes well. Rebuild goes well. You're only a year or two out, hopefully. Year or two, I think you'll be back into fighting for the top spot. Realistically, I think that's where you could get it.
I want to start a weekly segment on every show where where I just rant about like a dumb tweet from Barstool or something dumb that Barstool did.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think feels like a good, because they're
we're anti
punching
Barstool.
up.
We're anti Barstool here. We're scraping them.
What?
What am I hitting?
But hey, steal our content again. See what happens, Dave. Sit right here and explain to us why you don't tag us when you.
I know we're not alone.
When you
either.
share our stuff, you don't tag us. You don't tag
anybody. I know
anybody.
we're not alone here. Start an uprising, guys.
So start an uprising. Barstool steals content. Well, Barstool start getting the Bring the Juice guy.
Yeah, hey, free Bring the Juice, man. Hey, free Bring the Juice.
Yeah, Bring the Juice didn't do nothing to get caught up in the baby Gronk crossfire.
Dude, you guys are hey better men than us too. Because I was watching you're the goats for not editing it. Also, you guys are the goats. Let the world see what happened to you. Don't be silent. Speak up. Say, yeah, look, he did make his son re-answer every question. I'm gonna do that to you now. Every time you say something, I'm gonna go, no, bro. Hey, say. You go, yeah.
Yeah, when we invite DC8 on next, I'm like, so what quarterback are you really big on this season? No, say Sam Howell. No, say Sam Howell's going to win MVP.
Let's start a Twitter poll. Should Noah stop the Sam Howell propaganda or not?
The answer will be no.
No.
I have an album on my phone in my camera roll of Sam Howell propaganda.
Good.
That most of it has not been seen yet. It's waiting to be sent out.
I see you spit it. But back to what we're saying. Go cook, my brother.
Yeah, this was just a tweet. I saw a tweet this week asking, in today's MLB, what would Babe Ruth hit? And here's what I'll say. Fully meaning no disrespect to Babe Ruth. But the reality of sports, and this is a good thing, is that the game moves forward over time. The game progresses. The game gets better.
Yeah.
Coaches get better. Athletes get way better, figure out better ways to play, get more athletic, and they're able to do things that they previously could not do.
Exactly.
The game progresses over time. So, and Babe Ruth was a part of starting that progression. He was a very important figure in baseball history, helped push the game forward. So it's thanks to guys like him that we have such great players today who would absolutely cook Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth would be lucky to be in the minor leagues today. And I mean that with no disrespect, but if Babe Ruth was thrown a Jacob deGrom fastball, he would not know what to do with it. If he was thrown a Clayton Kershaw curveball, a Justin Verlander changeup, any of those things, he would be terrified. And that's not to say that Babe Ruth wasn't good or wasn't good for his time, but the game progresses over time. And to say that somebody who was really, really good 100 years ago wouldn't be good in the game of baseball today is not blasphemous.
It's not blasphemous.
It's just realistic to say that the game, like if the game of baseball hadn't progressed enough in 100 years to where
then what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing if in 100 years people aren't throwing faster, batters aren't better? The point of sports is to progress. That's why, like, if you take just any sixth man in the NBA today, he probably would have been great in the 50s because the NBA is miles above what it was then now.
Speaking just training regiments, training staff, all these guys, like the meal plans you have them on, it's insane just from being seeing our the greatest intern of all time, Tyler Carr, go from here in Bakersfield to going to Fresno, and they give him a training program and the man gains 30 pounds. It's like, this is insane how they take care of these athletes. Babe didn't have that. No. Babe was smoking cigars and pounding wieners before he got up to bat.
Well, and even you look at how many different types of pitches are out there in existence now. There's guys that throw heat in the high 80s, and they're not going to get anywhere close to being professional baseball players, unfortunately. But those guys in Babe Ruth's time would be really successful. And that was during a time where you could pitch really well with your only pitch in your arsenal was a fastball that was not tapping out at 103. And so when you put Devin Williams in there and have him throw a changeup, and Babe Ruth will be terrified.
If Babe Ruth saw a Clayton Kershaw 12-6 curve, his heart would stop on the plate.
Yeah, so it's exact, and the idea that that's somehow disrespectful to Babe Ruth to say that, I think is ridiculous.
It's not
because
disrespectful at all.
It's just a matter of over time, the game advances, the game gets better, players and athletes get better, and guys like Babe Ruth are part of what pushes the game forward and for future generations to be better than his generation was. And then the generation now will hopefully be like, hopefully 100 years from now, people will look back and be like, yeah, Shohei Ohtani, that guy, if he played today, wouldn't be any good.
Pull up a picture of Babe Ruth right now and pull up a picture of Randy Arozarena and tell me that they would have a similar batting average. It's insane, dude. I think it is wild how older players are protected like that. And it's like it is considered like you're attacking them for saying that they wouldn't do well in today's game. Because it's just true. You're totally right. If the game would have died if dudes were still throwing 70-mile-per-hour fastballs. The game would have been over.
And that's why, like, with any sport, I kind of fluctuate back and forth between, because it feels like there's sort of two schools of thought. Like, you see this played out a lot with, like, the GOAT debate in basketball, where people are, like, arguing about how you can compare today's game to, like, MJ's game or old games. I think I tend to be, a lot of the times, of the mindset that the game today, in so many ways, is just, like...
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about this when we were, like... a few months ago or something, when we were talking about like all-time quarterback lists, where immediately if you show me a photo of somebody in black and white and say they're a top 5 quarterback all time, I will absolutely disagree with you. Like, and that's not to say that they weren't great for their time or they didn't do amazing things for the game of football, but like pick a lot of guys today and and they're not throwing balls like Josh Allen is.
No, they are not, dude. I just don't like how the older players are protected like that. It's the same.
Send Sam Howell to 1943 best quarterback in the NFL. But then again, he is in 2023 also. So what are we even saying?
Like, dude, if you want a perfect example, if you want a perfect example of like why this stresses us out, and we're not the only ones, go back and look at the NFL when they were doing the top 100 players of the year and watch Deion Sanders' interview where he's like, it's disrespectful, and I get it that you have to put these older guys in, respect to them because they were great in their time, but it's disrespectful to put these guys in the NFL top 100 when there's dudes that you left out who would blow them out of the water.
That's why lists like that,
it's insane.
Like, when you have, it's just hard to know, like, based on what the criteria is, because like when, you know, like the NBA 75 or like NFL 100, like these all-time lists, it's just depends on what your criteria is, because it's really difficult when you just say like, okay, best players all time. What does that mean? Like best for their time or like best now? Because it's a lot different. Because with a super physical sport, like, I mean, they weren't doing things that they do today. Not. Like, even like something like creatine. Were they on creatine back then?
No, they were not. They were
not that that's like a game changer, but like that's one example of like that supplements, like training. We know more about training. Guys can just do things now that they couldn't do then. Yeah, that's why it's difficult for me with like NFL top 100 or like NBA 75. There's guys that you don't want to leave off the list because they were like really, really good in their decade or incredibly influential players. But then also you have guys like somebody who is, you know, like they're an all-star today, but they're not like great players. But they are certainly better than somebody in like 50s, 60s.
Here's my train of thought, my school thought, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. I'm fine with doing lists of like, these are my favorite guys, and that can span through. Like, these are my favorite guys, you know, that I've learned about or that I've watched personally. For me, when doing these lists and when I like doing these lists is when you're doing something where these guys have played during the same year. Those are easy. Like when we're like, who are the top 10 quarterbacks this year? That's easy. We've seen them play. I like the new style of ranking if you have to do a top 10 list of splitting it up by decades. I think that's really interesting and really fun. Because then you can kind of get to, you saw these guys play each other. It's easy. It's easier than going, let's compare 2010's LeBron versus, you know, dude who played in the 60s. It's way easier to do who's the best early 2000s, who's best in the 2010s, who's best in the 2020s, because you saw these guys play each other, and it's a smaller area to look at, and it makes it more accurate to me, personally.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, you run into that with, like...
Because I get what people do. They don't want to be disrespectful to the guys who made the game the way it is. You don't want to be disrespectful to, like, Kareem, Hakeem, all those guys. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to throw Will out of there, but it's hard. It's hard sometimes, man. There's dudes older than that.
Those guys
will put on.
I was going to say, you named 3 that I think would be really good at any time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, continuing our talk about baseball. I saw another tweet today that said, if Shohei wins another MVP this year, is he already a Hall of Famer? What do you think about that? Being our in-house baseball guy.
Well, I think that whether he wins MVPs has no bearing on that, really. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does if you're like, if you need to see an MVP, but
the stats still are there. Yeah.
Yeah, the difference between whether the voters this year feel like he's, I don't know. I'd put him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's the thing is, it's questions like this to me are kind of like, I don't know. It's the same thing with like Pat Mahomes or any of these guys where they'll be like, has he done enough to be a Hall of Famer? Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, I know he's going to play at least 10 more years, so why do I need to like, why do I need to know?
Do you need the answer now?
The answer to the question of, is Pat Mahomes already a Hall of Famer, has no bearing on anything.
Exactly.
Like, I'd say the answer is probably yes, but like, it doesn't, like, if Pat Mahomes retired today, is he a Hall of Famer? Okay, well, he's not retiring today, so.
Yeah, exactly.
So by the time he retires, he for sure will be a Hall of Famer. I feel the same way about Shohei, that regardless of whether you feel like he's done enough or not, he's absolutely, by the time he retires, will be. He doesn't have to do that good for the rest of his career to be a Hall of Famer.
Gun to your head, where do you think Shohei's going to play next?
SoCal.
Where in SoCal specifically? Do you have an idea? What color he'll be wearing?
South Central, wearing blue, I'd say. I'd say he'd probably be a Dodger. But it's you know, if he's smart, which I think he is, then he'll play with them. He has the advantage of being like the most desired guy in the sport, and so he can lead on a bunch of different teams, fully knowing that he might not ever have any intention of signing with those teams, but get your money up, not your funny up. Raise that number.
We just saw Messi get $1 billion. One day we could see a little boy like Shohei get $1 billion.
Shohei will get many dollars. But yeah, it's you know, I wouldn't stick around on the Angels if I was him. Mm-hmm. Even though they're doing better this year, but it's just,
I always love.
You don't want to throw your career down the.
I always love the meme where it's like, here's the Angel stat line every week. Mike Trout hits 3 home runs in a game. Shohei does something that hasn't been done since the 30s, and the Angels lose.
Yeah, but they're doing good lately now. They're like 40 and 30 or something. But yeah, I'll probably go to the A's, I'd say.
I think so. I think they're willing to spend a little more money.